Every year I try to sort of talk about what our industry is doing in perspective, and I will be honest with you, it gets harder and harder every year for me to do this because I try to bring something interesting to the table for a thought-provoking kind of a comment and try to pick something that I think would be of interest to you in running your businesses in the future. So the benefit of this for me is I get to be a little bit of a crystal ball guy and really go 5 years out. And I don't know if 5 years from now we'll be checking my predictions, but one of the predictions I made last year was that the industry was going to consolidate pretty fast and the pharmaceutical industry was going to come in, whether we like it or not. And I think that's continuing to happen. There's an article in NBJ about consolidation in the industry. But this year I'm going to talk a little bit about the industry in perspective. I'm going to talk about a couple trends in the press that I think are interesting, one kind of funny. And I want to talk about the future of healthcare, and then I'll give you a one-slide update on our CEO dinner last night, if I got it right. And if those of you that were there, I didn't get it right, you'll let me know. So I always put this slide up every year because for the first-timers to this industry, it's interesting to see our industry in perspective. We are a $137 billion industry, if you look at this mark right here. And the supplement industry, which is dominating this room, is about a $33 billion industry growing at 7.5%. So if you look at us relative to some other sectors like prescription drug and prescription drug sales, we're smaller, but we're actually growing way faster than prescription drugs. And there's no better way to show that than a graph, which I put up before. But I think for the first timers, again, this is one of my favorite slides that I put together with my colleague Grant Ferrier, which is this shows that the growth of supplements is faster than the growth of pharmaceutical. Now it looks like it's catching up over here with pharmaceutical, and I know the base is smaller, 32 billion, 325 billion, but I still think it's relevant that in around 2007, their growth of supplements has been higher growth rate for the last 7-8 years, and I think it will continue that way throughout. And we're also seeing, if you see those two lines come together, we're seeing a blurring of pharmaceutical and supplements, and I see it all over the place. I spoke to a guy this morning on the golf course who makes pharmaceutical particle dynamics, and he said he thinks he's seeing more and more supplement companies that are getting ready for pharmaceutical manufacturing. So we're seeing blurring all over the place. My other role in life is I'm the co-founder of Nutrition Capital Network with Grant. And we have sort of a Shark Tank type of business where we put companies together with capital. And you guys have seen my presentation, I like a lot of numbers, but Grant and I have been tracking the number of deals that have come through for seeking capital. So we have private equity guys and strategic investors in the back of the room, and then we have entrepreneurs from these sectors in the front of the room. And you can see natural organic foods and ingredients are two of the largest companies coming through for capital. And about 41% of the companies that come through our business find capital. So we're trying to sort of keep the industry growing because capital is an important part of the growth of our industry. Pacific Capital Group is here. I don't know if Janica Lane's here. This is her slide. It should be sourced. I'm sorry, but I'm sourcing it now. So Janica put together this list of buyers that she presented at our NCN meeting. And I think one of the reasons we're seeing consolidation is for the first time, I was talking to Harvey Camille, who I've known for many years. He's been in the industry 30 plus years. And he's here today, and he said he's amazed that these big players are now coming in the industry. I mean, we've seen it, and we're going to see more of it. I mean, William Hood is here from Houlihan Lokey. He's done a lot of the big deals you've seen in the industry, and he keeps telling me there's more to come. So whether we want to accept it or not, we're going to have a whole new round of players in this business. P&G, Church & Dwight, baking soda guys, they own the largest gummy vitamin company now. Reckitt owns Schiff now, and they're looking for more companies to buy. We know the other companies are out there looking for companies to buy, so it is definitely going to be a consolidation play for the next 5 to 10 years, I think. Here's one of Mark's cartoons. I wanted to give you a sample, Mark. I want to thank you for this cartoon. This is the one I chose to set off my press comments, so that's one of mine. Feel free to repost and share. Okay. I have a dog, so I thought that was funny, Mark. Recent press. Oh, wait, how did that get in there? No, so let's see. I normally give recent press in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, and I do have those, but I saw this on the stand yesterday at a supermarket, and I thought it was, okay, I don't read the Globe, but I thought, here's this group of people that are all dying from chronic diseases, and they all put them up there. It's quite depressing, actually, but it's related in a way to what we're going to talk about next, which is chronic disease. Also, in today's Wall Street Journal, this morning, I prepared my remarks around personalized medicine, and I always, like it when the day that I'm going to present, there's an article that's it's not exactly right on target, but it's a story in today's personal section, section D, about patient heal thyself using an iPhone and an app to track your symptoms. And this family tracked their symptoms so they could choose the right doctor, and they found a way to, personalize their tracking of their symptoms. So that was in today's Wall Street Journal. Brain category, still big. I was very interested to see that Obama and the administration has gotten into understanding the brain. It could be even related to some of the problems we've been having with shootings and people that are mentally unstable. They're starting to think, we better look at their brains. There's a guy I met who actually has dissected some of the brains of some of the serial killers and has related it to some of it to nutrition. So the brain is a very, very important organ of ours. Last year we had Dr. Daniel Amen talk about why the brain was important. He told everybody not to drink. Remember that? I don't know if we follow that. We haven't followed that this year. So the brain is very important, and there's lots of opportunity. It's one of the categories that I don't think has really hit yet. There's no big brain product out there in cognition. Omega-3s have come out, negative press, 2 big articles, one from the New England Journal of Medicine, one from the National Cancer Institute. One's a meta-study on prostate cancer, saying it causes prostate cancer. Adam thinks the whole thing is bunk, because if that was the case, then the country of Japan would have more prostate cancer, and they don't because they eat a lot of omega-3. So these meta-studies you have to be careful of. CRN jumped on this. The industry needs to jump on it. And I think it's very important that if you get time to talk to Adam at this conference, he will give you the response that you need, or Steve Mister, that we need to have this response. Because I've been on 5 planes in the last week and a half. And people have said, I hear those omega-3s don't work anymore, they're crap. And so it's getting to the public, we have to control it. And Adam's a big believer, and we've got to be more aggressive with the press. So I think this is a big issue, and I think we should discuss it in the hallways here at the summit. Another trend, which I found interesting, and I was in the Apple store several times this year, and I noticed that one of my colleagues had a jawbone. How many of you have a wearable device? Wow. 30, 40 people. So Jawbone makes one, Fitbit makes one, and Nike makes one. And if you want to know where the future is, these might be gadgets, they might be fads, they might kind of pan out, but I think it's an interesting trend because I think it ties into the whole personalized medicine thing. And I wrote an article about this that's on your tables about personalized medicine and how it's going to impact supplement companies. 15 million wearable devices this year. They predict 70 million. But what's more interesting is they're available at the Apple Store, which I find fascinating. So they're going to, while they sell you an iPad or an iPhone, they're going to sell you a Jawbone. That device in the lower left actually can measure your sleep patterns and tell you when you're in REM sleep and wake you up when you've had enough REM sleep. So if you, instead of setting alarm for 6 a.m., you can say, set the alarm for when that device tells me I've had a good sleep, and it'll go off. So you can actually use it to help you with your sleep patterns to get better sleep. You can also track your walking and running and your fitness, and it's just a huge trend. So I think that's going to be big. And then when Apple and Google get in the game, I think it's going to be even more interesting. So there's a rumor that Apple's going to come out with a watch. They're going to get in the watch business, which is not going to be a watch. It's going to be a computer that's going to probably measure the same personalized items, biomarkers that the other items are. So none of these devices are on the market yet. Neither was Dick Tracy's phone ever on the market. But I think that's where we're headed, and I think it's an interesting trend. And I'll tie it to where I'm going next. This year, I only write one article a year for NBJ because it's very painful, and Mark Brush puts up with me, so thank you, Mark. But this year, I got my idea from attending an event in April with Jeff Bland. So Jeff Bland is retired from Metagenics. He's now starting the Personalized Lifestyle Medicine Institute, PLMI for short. And Jeff is going to talk about personalized medicine here live. I had a video of him, but I took it out because you can hear him live on Thursday. On this article, what I tried to do is talk about, I basically borrowed a lot of Jeff's ideas with his permission. He's sourced in this article. And then part 2 of the article, I tried to talk about what does it mean for the supplement business. So the first question is, what is personalized medicine, and what does it mean for the supplement business? There's a 4-page article you can look at, but I'm going to try to, you don't have to read it because I'm going to explain it right now. So the summary of this article is that the future companies in our industry might be related to diagnostics and personalization. And I think if you're a supplement company like MBTY or Now Foods or Barleans or a big company or a small company, I think you need to understand where this personalization is going and where biomarkers are going, because I think this could be part of the future of where we're headed. So let me start off with sort of the problem and then where things are going technically from an electronic standpoint, and then where I think the future is. So we all know this big obesity problem. I'm not going to bore you with that. We've done that over the years. It's a big, big problem. It's causing chronic disease. There's a big epidemic. We know that. You guys have all seen these numbers, and chronic disease is killing not only people, but killing our economy. If you look at healthcare costs, they've been rising since 1993. They're rising at alarming rates. How many of you remember Lawrence Kotlikoff was here about 6, 7 years ago? He was pretty dismal, right? But he said, if we don't fix this problem, it'll destroy the American economy. So did Michael Roizen 2 years ago, our keynote speaker. We all know it's a big problem. Here's how big the problem is, and I thank Jeff Bland again. This was from the World Economic Forum. $47 trillion will be used to pay for chronic disease management by 2030. So in graduate school, we used to call this a reference projection that's impossible. It means that if you project forward that number, it's impossible to spend 3 times the national debt on this disease, on chronic diseases. So something has to change. Something has to change in the system. Many of the brightest minds say when we have a crisis in America, we will change, we will adapt, and we need to adapt, otherwise we're going to be bankrupt. So our national debt, if you go on the national debt, fixthedebt.org, you can see that. And I picked that up yesterday, and it's already probably gone up several million dollars, because it just keeps moving up, and it's alarming if you've ever seen the national debt. So our $47 trillion in chronic diseases is going to bankrupt us 3 times the national debt. So that's the problem. What do we do about it? What's going to happen? So my prediction, and I completely agree with Jeff Bland, and borrowed some of this intellectual capital from him, is that public health initiatives, Obamacare, whether we like it or not, it's the law, it's going to impact us. We also have private health initiatives. How many of you as CEOs are worried about your insurance of your employees as a cost item? I mean, everybody should be raising their hand. And if you're not worried about it now, you will be worried in a couple of years. So one of the solutions to this is going to be lifestyle healthcare medicine, which is taking care of your lifestyle. And it's more than medicine, it's actually changing your lifestyle habits. And then there's this term that's been bandied about for the last 5 or 6 years, P4 medicine, which is personalized, preventive, predictive, and participatory. And on the other side of the equation, we have this amazing trend of mobile technology. So we know how many mobile phones there are, we know how many iPads, iPhones are out there. I'm sure everybody in the room has a mobile smartphone. We all are, although we're not tweeting, I bet you're looking at your kids' pictures on Facebook or you're on LinkedIn. How many of you are on LinkedIn? There they go, that's about 95%. So we got LinkedIn, social networks. We have a lot of computing power, Moore's law, if you remember that, a lot of more computing power. We have this concept called big data. New Hope has actually brought somebody on just to work on big data out of the data that we have at Penton and New Hope. So those trends on the right side, along with the trends on the left side, are leading to what I think is the future. So the trends on this right side are leading to these innovative diagnostic technologies. And by innovative, I mean simpler, faster, better, real-time products. Innovative self-care, which is the quantified self, which is the jawbone thing I put up before. And all that leads to this future, which I think is the personalized lifestyle medicine, which I think is the only way out of our hole of this crisis we've created for ourselves. And I think the supplement industry has a big role to play in this. So Jeff, if you're in the room, my definition of personalized medicine, I tried to simplify it as much as I could, which is I probably oversimplified it, but it's accessible diagnostics from genetics and biomarkers. Then you make changes, you make inputs in your system around nutrition, and that's where supplements come in. So supplements are right there, right? That's where we play. Lifestyle therapies and drug therapies. So you get access to diagnostics, you change your lifestyle, you take supplements that work. I take 26 a day, as you guys know, and then you have personalized lifestyle medicine, and you have a better life, and you're actually happier, and you live longer, and you're not going to get a chronic disease. So I believe that, and I think that's the part of the solution to the problem. Eric Topol, Creative Destruction Medicine. If you guys have not read this book, I highly recommend you read it. If you don't want to read it, I'll tell you what it says. It says that all these technologies are going to change medicine. Now, Eric doesn't like supplements too much, which is unfortunate. He dissed omega-3s the other day, Eric, as Adam knows. But he does say that this is going to change medicine. I'd like to apply and say this is going to help us change supplements. So let's just borrow his theory for supplements. We might try to have him here as a keynote speaker next year, but I think he might get booed because he doesn't like supplements too much. So, and let's take 1 minute. Eric, can you put up that video real quick?
The title of your book, first of all, The Creative Destruction of Medicine. What does that mean?
Well, it's a term actually from an economist from the last century, Schumpeter, and how the world can be Schumpetered in medicine. Radical innovation that really transforms the future of healthcare and medicine. And basically it's because we have this digital infrastructure, which is so incredibly developed. not only with smartphones and bandwidth and connectivity, but also supercomputers and cloud computing, social networks. So if we just harness that opportunity in the healthcare world, which has kind of been in its own cocoon, finally we can change the whole course of how medicine will be practiced in the years ahead.
So give us some examples of how sort of the digital age can affect our health.
Well, you know how devices like smartphones and tablets change our daily lives, radically. Well, what about if that was healthcare? So, for example, you're checking your email and you're surfing the web on your phone or your tablet, and all of a sudden you can check your vital signs, your blood pressure, your glucose. You can also look at your DNA and how it might react to a particular medicine that you could be prescribed or just was prescribed. So there's all this remarkable knowledge about each individual. There are new tools, new rules for how medicine will be practiced.
So is this information, are these tools that you want the consumer of health to have access to, or you want the physicians to have access to?
Well, the physicians can have access to, but it probably won't change their practice. So I think it has to be consumer driven for this to really take off, because it's one's own, the ownership of the smartphone where all this data is going to be. DNA, it's your DNA. You have the right to have access to that. And so the medical community, for the most part, is very resistant to change. In the book, I talk about it being sclerotic or even ossified, like bone. Whereas the consumer is much more plastic and flexible and willing, because they're so vested in their own health, to take that active role, that participatory role, and with their own platform of a smartphone or their genome, they can actually make a big difference in how their health care their health.
So I just want you to think about what he said and apply it to your business and supplements, because he's talking about medicine, but I think it applies to us as well. He happens to be right down here at UC San Diego, and that's another definition of personalized medicine, which I'm not going to go into, but Jeff Bland's going to explain on Thursday. Okay, Jeff? Jeff, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, you can explain this on Thursday, right? So this is really where the future is, and Jeff is the creator of this concept. And if you've known Jeff Bland, you know that he's going to be a big force on the world. He's coming out with a book that's going to be a best-selling book, and I think it's going to change the way we look at medicine and the supplement business. And he has 30 years of Betagenics supplement business behind him. So another great example is the metabolic code. Jim LaValle, I don't know if Jim's in the room, but he created a great code called Metabolic Code. He wrote a book now just called Your Blood Never Lies. It's all about diagnostics. Here's 3 companies. There's more than a dozen companies that are sort of in this space on the technology side. I just sent away my kit to 23andMe. I think you're going to hear from Mark Brush, who has got his results from 23andMe. It's a gene snip that you can get that talks about your genes for $99. Wellness FX, Jim Keen's going to be here Thursday and talk about why he thinks that technology of getting your blood work done is going to change the world. And GeneMe is another DNA customized results. Here's an examples of some supplement companies that have moved in this space. I write in the article that a lot of supplement companies have not succeeded in this space yet. We have not had any real big successes. We had a lot of players in the late 90s, the early part of the century, launch customized supplements. Custom Pack was one of them. Acumins was another. Siona was another. They've all gone by the wayside. So you might say, oh, that's going to fail. My prediction is that we just haven't had the right set of circumstances yet to create the iPhone of personalization. So these are some examples in the marketplace now. I think it's too early to tell what's happening here. Enzymatica just launched this last month. Barlean's is trying to measure something with omega-3s. But again, I think this is what we want to look at for the future. So Patrick and I, with his help a little bit, we came up with 7. Oh, by the way, the bottom right here is the one company that did succeed. Is Pharmanex in the room? Is New Skin here today? Tyler? Yeah, you are. Welcome. So Tyler's company, you can ask him about it, came up with this biophotonic scanner 7 years ago, is it? Something like that. Yeah. 10 years. And it has done wonders for their business. And one of the reasons I think it has is that it's simple, it's easy. You can get one number. Now you get a number you can put on your keychain like you have your when you go to the grocery store. And it tells you your antioxidant levels from measuring by putting your hand on this, and it measures the resistance in the skin. So this has worked for them because they can explain it, it's easy. But if you're a supplement company, I think you should have one or more of these 7 key success factor attributes to succeed in this new space. So you need to have defensible claims, you have to have the right quantity of supplements, you have to deliver the diagnostics simply, they have to be easy to understand, you have to be able to interpret the results, think easy, think simple, think Amazon, think one click, right? And then you have to have some flexibility to evolve with the technology. So if I'm the CEO of a supplement company, I'm looking for a diagnostic company to partner with. If I'm a diagnostic company and I got something hot, I'm looking to sell supplements, either with a company or on my own. I say in the article that the next big company might be a diagnostic company. Patrick and I have shared this with you before, but I decided to build on it. So the product promise that we've talked about, which is, we talked about CEO dinner, what's in the labels in the pill? Is it at the point of purchase? Is it absorbed efficiently in the body? And is it safe? Probably that should be number 1. If you build on this concept, product promise of today is, does the product work? And does it have clinical evidence to prove that it works? So we all have heard about science. These big players are coming in the market. You know, big pharmaceuticals are not going to stand for no science. They have to have science. I can tell you, I know that for a fact. And if you don't have science, you're not going to be playing in this game longer. And it's going to weed out some of the bad apples. So I've had long arguments with many CEOs saying, I'm just going to use borrowed science. I'm going to use borrowed science. That's fine. You need some kind of science from your ingredient companies, but the real companies are the ones that can have science that work on their products. So the product promise of tomorrow, I hope, is one where your product can be measured to work for you, personalized for you. And I think maybe that's 5 years out, maybe that's 3 years out. Ask Jeff Fland in the personalized panel on Thursday. But that's where I think the future is going. With that, I've gone a little bit over. I want to give you a 1-minute report from our dinner last night. We had 30 CEOs that we get together as our 5th CEO dinner. And it's not about, you know, closing the doors so you guys can't be part of it. It's just that we can't fit more than 30 around the table for dinner. And these were the top CEOs in our sector. And the 4 issues we kind of ended the evening with, and again, we don't really come up with any big conclusions, but we want to share that information with you, and that's part of this event, is we better look for another political partner. Senator Hatch is 79, has 5 years left, and Senator Harkin is not running again. So one of the conclusions of dinner is we better test and see if some of these new potential partners are really behind us. And here's a list of some of the potential names I got from John Venardos in our group last night. And then John Venardos stood up and challenged us, and there were 5 trade associations in the room, said, you know, we better have one voice. Now we've got 5 trade associations, we know that exists. I've proposed putting them together and having a federation. I don't think it's going to happen very easily because every organization has a purpose and a meaning, but we definitely need to have that one voice in Washington. John Venardos told a story that he's been in front of 112 congressmen and senators in the last quarter or 2, and he said one of the things he keeps hearing from them is that you guys have a lot of voices, we don't know who to listen to, it would be better if you had one voice, like the pharmaceutical industry or other industries. So I don't know how to get there, but that was one of the things that we need to work on. And then GMPs, big issue, still have a big problem. Michael McGuffin said we're still like 34%. If we were in shoe business or the iPad business, we'd be out of business. So the GMPs are still important. And then GMO is an issue that Mark Rush will cover in his comments. It's an issue looming. So with that, I'm going to end my remarks, and I'm going to ask our State of the Industry panelists to come up.